Hello and welcome to the Unofficial Controller Podcast, your weekly gaming podcast. It's took us a while, but we finally got there. Episode 48, The History of Doom. With me, George, as always joined by Tom. Doom to my get a room. How's it going?
Hi, mate. I'm well, thank you. It's a very strange time we're in at the moment, but we've managed to get together over the internet. So please bear with us if there's any technical difficulties, but we're hopefully going to put out a decent little show for you.
Well, as you mentioned, we've entered some strange times, but we've now got some backroom support for James, the work experience boy. We've got Phil, the producer.
Hey, Phil. He's quite a portly gentleman, isn't he?
Yes. Well, luckily we've got him on board as we move into what we like to refer to as Series 2. It's a little short of a year because of all the stuff that's gone on, but we slide into the new slick Phil-produced Season 2.
Well, I'll hold my hands up. I am the bad guy of the show, really, and I was getting a little bit where to go with Farmerton, so we've left that behind, and I brought in a friend of mine, Phil, the producer, and he doesn't come cheap, so I've had to take a hit in the salary. So he's going to be producing things now, so the quality should go up, but sadly my income will go down. But I've got a few irons in the fire. But anyway,
yes, I wouldn't want to labour on that and write another 6 tomes of law. You get a little bit crazy when you get in the driver's seat. You just sit down and chill out, because Phil's going to edit this, isn't he? Let's face facts.
He is, yes, he is.
So, anyway, the format of the show, to people that may have joined us during this period, starts off a little bit of news, Tom, and what we got in the news this week, a little bit of something.
Yeah, we've got an inside Xbox bit of news. Brilliant. And also we've got a bit of bonus news which I haven't told you about. It's a bit of a rumour. We don't deal in leaks, we deal in rumours and news. Just clarifying that for the new series, Series 2.
He is, listeners, you'll get to know that the ego with legs looks like a balloon with a couple of little bits of cotton dangling underneath it. That's Tom, my co-host. Wonderful chap. And then after the news, we slip and we slide into the feature this week, which is the very well penned by my fellow author there, The History of Doom, which we're going to deep dive.
Thank you.
The story of Doom, its creation.
I thought I'd better start earning a keep.
Well, it is about time.
Yep. Phil took me to one side and did sort of talk me through, saying I'm going to have to actually put some work into this series.
He said we had a rough diamond of a show and he wanted to shine that sucker up.
Polish it up. Yeah.
Turn it sideways and stick it straight up somewhere, but I'm not quite sure where. And once we've done the feature, we go into the new releases we call Stingrays Boot.
Absolutely, yeah. Some hopefully going to be a few bits in there.
Well, for all those people sat at home wondering what the hell they're going to play next and where their next game's coming from, we better give them a bit of a download about what's coming on the download.
Absolutely.
New catchphrase for you there. And we normally finish the show. Have you got is that a parakeet you've got in the background? It must be.
No.
There's a parakeet in the background.
Yeah.
And so I like to surround myself with exotic birds. Then I ask you what you're hoping to play over the coming week. And before we start, and I don't think even you can erase this little bit of an intro, Tom. Odders, grip the wheel. Tom, what you been playing?
Well, since it's been a while since our last show due to the current state of affairs in the world, I have played Doom Eternal. I'll be talking a little bit more about that in the feature, The History of Doom. And I did manage to complete it, so I've got a little bit to talk about with that. So looking forward to sharing that. And I also managed to get my copy of Final Fantasy VII Remake come through the post a little bit earlier, which was a nice surprise.
You know,
Especially
some
being
really hardcore Final Fantasy fans still waiting with bated breath for their doormat to be graced with their copy of Final Fantasy VII Remake. And yet, the man who doesn't even know what a chocobo is gets it land on his doorstep.
Hey,
bright, fresh. You only know what a chocobo is because I told you.
I've played 15. That was my entry Final Fantasy. Oh, no, it wasn't. I did have the one with Rat Boy. 9. That you recommended to me, actually, back in the day when I had my PlayStation 1. When I used to buy old games, like games that are older than 6 months.
That's a very strange thing. So other than Doom Eternal and the online shooting games that we're obligatory obliged not to mention, what else have you been playing? Or is that it? You finished Mad Max?
So, no. That's gone by the wayside. Probably never to be touched again. Maybe. It is quite good.
I wanted to talk to you on air about the ending.
Well, we'll see how long Final Fantasy lasts and how long this potential lockdown lasts. So, maybe. But due to Last of Us 2 being delayed, I really wanted to use a bit of that time to play through the first one again. So I may restart.
Have you done that? Have you restarted that yet?
No, that'll probably be in what I'm hoping to play. So I should have saved that for the end, shouldn't I? Never mind. If I could just talk quickly a little bit about Final Fantasy VII. I'm not going to go into spoilers. Fantastic looking game. It is a shame they've not decided to release it digitally early because Square Enix have come out and said that it's going to be getting to people early, like the physical copies, because they were worried about shipping and getting it delivered. So I just thought, well, if the street date's broken, just start releasing it online, because I think a lot of people in the US are going to be really far behind, because they said Europe and Australia are going to get their copies quite early, and the US aren't, which is a shame because there's going to be a lot of spoilers and stuff out there. I see the reviews are out already. It's getting sort of 8.
Spoilers for a 20-year-old game?
Yeah. Well, no, the thing is they've added a lot to the story to flesh out the characters and that part of the game. It takes place in Midgar, which is like the big industrial city at the start of the game. In the original, it apparently took over about 7 hours worth of content. This is now a 40-hour game, so they've obviously implemented a lot of stuff. There's a lot of side missions, which I'm seeing, I agree with in some of the reviews they do feel a little bit fillery, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I think the characters are really good. Obviously, they're living up to the hype for me because there's always been a lot of held in high regard for all those main characters of the game. Visually, it looks fantastic. But I believe there's a
little figure as well, being such a hardcore fan.
That's a Smash Bros. Cloud amiibo. That's the only way I know him originally, like from Smash Bros. But yeah,
I love it. Yeah, and you did a little listener Stingray, because one of the things that's been set up during these times is that we've set up a Discord. Links are in the link tree on the several social medias. We're on Twitter and Instagram. So if you you can click the little drop-down box, select Discord, email the show, Spotify or iTunes for your link. Happy days.
Yeah, come and join in the chat, guys, and ladies. It's really good fun. There's a lot of very gaming history knowledge on there from all our listeners. We've got accumulated like Pokemon cards that we've collected. They've all got the strengths, not many weaknesses. We want to say a shout out to Boba Loba as well for helping us get the Discord
very much
set up. Really appreciate that.
Finally, his ego's willing to share a little bit of the platform with someone else for a couple of seconds. I like it.
New series, new me. That's the hashtag. Let's get it trending. New series, new me.
I see that lasting about 30 before you wheeled in a new character.
No, there'll be none of that. It's done, finished. Yeah, it's time to be grateful for all the effort all the listeners are putting over the course of a year, helping us out and just supporting us, really.
Well, the other news is that we've had our anniversary.
We have, yeah. A fine meal out, that was. A Chinese takeaway over Skype. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, not
I
bad.
had Corona Cat. What did you have? 42 on the menu.
Oh,
there you go. No,
COVID kebab for me.
COVID kebab. That's what you had. I like it. That's the well-known Chinese food, the kebab.
Rona Malona, we've literally just alienated the whole Chinese market now. So that's all of those listeners gone.
I'm sure they listened in their thousands.
Of course, it has a massive population. And we're big in China.
Big in China, yeah.
I'll get back to Final Fantasy VII because we're waffling a bit. The graphics are fantastic. The character models and the lighting are especially very good. But there's a bit of a downside to the graphics. If the actual textures and stuff of everything else in the game, they look terrible. And I will use that word. I mean, it's a very high-end, well-made game, but apparently the reasons for this so far have been put down to, due to the game not coming out till Friday, the game is to release with a day one patch, but it isn't out yet. So people are playing it with these like very muddy looking PS2 textures, but apparently that's going to be sorted out on Friday with the day one update. So I'll be quite curious to go back to areas where I've noticed it quite bad and see whether they have improved. It does feel very, very linear after coming from playing some of the big RPGs and sort of open world games. It does feel very linear, but I think it suits the style of the game.
Okay.
But yeah, overall, really happy with the pickup of getting that and looking forward to playing some more of it.
Nice.
I better be polite and ask you what you've been playing.
Well, I'll keep it brief, but I've been having a playthrough. I decided to start at the top of the shelf. I've always had a soft spot for Assassin's Creed, the first game. I don't know why. I've played it and finished it more times than I've had options.
It was very wow when it came out, wasn't it? Like it had some great
something about the
features
setting. There's something about the way it looks still to this day. I think one still looks really good, actually, to be fair. So I finished that again. No trophies on PS3, and I think I first played it on 360. Still a good game. You know, some of the mechanics are a little old. In a way, in its most simplistic form in that game, you know, it is pretty good. Often the killings don't go the way you want them to, the actual assassinations, and it all ends up in a bit of a chase and a mess. You know, you don't sneak in like some stealthy shadow. You more bimble in, hack through 20 guards and then kill the guy, and then hack through 20 guards and hide on a bench. Assassin's Creed 2, I'd never played before. I think maybe I played a demo of it on 360. I can't quite remember. And it was the bit where you're in Leonardo da Vinci's flying machine. And I have to admit, it put me off. So I picked this game up off the shelf, starting with A. We're working our way down. So I've decided to work through all the Assassin's Creeds. And 2, for me, keeping it brief, I was halfway through and I thought, this is an absolute masterclass. This is a well put together gamey game. The mechanics are good. The way it plays is good. The way I feel for the character is good. The building up the Montenegro town felt good. If albeit a little bit limited in this day and age, but I can imagine at the time you really felt like you were king of this. The setting was amazing in 2. I'm going to rock your world a little bit and say I've always had a soft spot for Renaissance art. And to be able to collect some of that and put it into your villa was incredible. Such a connoisseur.
Yeah, that's cool.
And to give certain pieces, you know, the credit that you know, let's face it, most people pick that up and want to stab people. Yet you can collect art in that game, which are all actual works of art that deserve some recognition. Then I moved on to keeping that kind of brief. The new mechanics in that were kind of interesting. Then I moved on to Brotherhood, which impressed me even more. I thought, oh wow, this is great. The setting was great.
Now, is this the one in? This is in Rome.
Yeah.
It's the closure of Ezio?
No,
Ezio story.
there's another one. So I finished a lot of
Okay.
games. So I finished Assassin's Creed 1. I finished Assassin's Creed 2. And Assassin's Creed 2 is probably not far off as a platinum dropping for me, but I decided to leave it and
Wow.
move on. That's how much I got into it. Brotherhood, I really enjoyed the setting. Obviously, to see all the neoclassical architecture around, like a city thriving within an old city was interesting. And again, another history lesson. I'm a bit boring, so I do like history, and to see all the. And to be fair to Ubisoft, the actual placing of the different landmarks and structures, as far as I'm concerned, in space in between each other and the size and the context that they're in, was absolutely perfect. Pixel perfect placement of these different bits and bobs, which I thought was great. Obviously, you do up bits of Rome this time instead of the Montenegro town, which added money, probably too much money at times. I was just awash with cash, as I was in 2. If you double down and invest in the banks and the shops and stuff, you end up with a lot of money. Which makes the game a lot easier maybe than it should be. Again, using that same, maybe a modified engine of 1, 2, and Brotherhood, again, you could bimble in and it was fairly forgiving. You could just stab everybody in and get out and hide on a bench, and that's fine. I got to Revelations, which is the end of the Ezio story. Didn't like that as much. The setting in Constantinople, or Istanbul, as we call it in modern day terms, was okay. The graphics, again, had a little bit of a hike because we'd moved the engine, same engine, but they'd had a bit more time with it. And that was all well and good. I liked hiring the assassins in Brotherhood and building that up. In Revelations, I didn't like. Obviously, it came out in the time of mobile tower defense games, so there was a section to do like tower defense to hold.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not into this mechanic at all. One thing I want to say is Desmond Miles' story has always been of interest to me. Nolan North, the voice actor that you might know, was Nathan Drake from Uncharted, doing an absolute fabulous turn. Obviously, people don't like those sections, but I'm a big fan of Nolan and his voice work, and I actually think that he's really good in that. And those Desmond bits I was interested in. I know a lot of people aren't, because it's like, oh, it's dead boring, it's Desmond, I want to get back to slicing and dicing. But if you watch his progression, it's really good. And then we get to the bit where I must say, a game that I've fallen in love with and gets an insertion into my top 10. Finished it only last night. Assassin's Creed 3. I don't know what it is. It's the apex of everything for me. The graphics are incredible. Even to this day, I think they stand up really well. The scene, the setting, the bait and switch, spoilers for a 20-year-old game, but you start off as a Templar. You know, and I was thinking, this guy's an assassin. This is great. You know, I'm going to find out how he fathers this kid, Connor, and he must live with the Indians. And then, boom, it switches and you find that he's a Templar. And it's like, what? This is great. And then, obviously, you grow up as Connor, or Rantaka Khan, or whatever he's called in his Indian name. Absolutely brilliant. People call it wooden, but I've gone and done some research, and he's on record for saying that did his dialogue in this way because native Indians struggled with English language. If you listen to him when he's an Indian, he's very animated.
Yeah.
But when he speaks as in the English language, he struggles with it because the words are alien in his mouth. So he speaks in like this monotone style, which
that's
actually
cool.
Knowing that and playing it through. I mean, I like the character. He's my favorite protagonist in the series so far. I think he was absolutely fantastic. The naval combat is good. I like the way it's broken up into missions. I'm a little bit nervous about Black Flag, where it's all going to be like, oh, you like naval combat, did you? Here's a full game of it. It's like, oh, God, I don't know about that. And see, again, one day I'm going to do a history podcast. I've promised some of the loyal listeners this. Separate from this, don't panic. And some of the naval warfare scenarios in it where you're ramming ships, it's a bit like, no, they weren't ramming ships in that time. It was not. That's not how it works. And I wanted to. I keep trying to cross the T because obviously when ships get side by side and they batter the living hell out of each other, that's not the secret to naval combat is getting in front or behind your opponent and then unleashing your broadside through the rakes of the ship rather than through the sides. It causes way more devastation. But when you do that in Assassin's Creed, it's like, nah, you barely touched me. It doesn't matter. And it's like, oh, that's a shame because that would have been a nice mechanic. They've obviously done a lot of research and then got past, stopped at the pictures and gave up. But, you know, I liked it. I don't want to beat down on it too much. Some of the climactic sections in that are incredible. The ending of the game was amazing. Building the homestead there's so much character development there, even for a 8-year-old, nearly a decade-old game. You build up the town. There's a wedding. There's a funeral. There's a birth. Oh, my goodness gracious me. I can't even say anymore. I don't want to spoil that section because it's absolutely great. You grow this town from a 1 to 2, 3 building settlement into something much bigger. And each person you kind of bond with. It feels a little aged now, don't get me wrong, compared to games like Red Dead and stuff. But that little homestead area, incredible. The character, incredible. The setting, amazing. I'm going to tear into 4, obviously. But I'm a little bit nervous because I've started playing it before and I got about 20 minutes, half hour into it. And I was like, nah, this is just utter twaddle.
Well, the thing is with Black Flag being one of the only ones I've really got stuck into,
Did you finish
the thing is with I've tried Assassin's Creed 2, 3, and Black Flag. It's like I get drawn into them. I just lose interest in them. I don't know why. Just can't stick with them.
Well, I definitely want a T-shirt now that says "The Man Who Finishes Games." Right, I've put some hours in.
Okay, you must have done. You must have done.
You should order me. That still exists in season 2. You've killed everything else, like napalm spread across the week. But the T-shirt survives.
Did you tend to like progress straight through the story in these Assassin's Creed games, or did you do side missions as well? I'm just trying to get it.
In 1, because I've played it before, I mainlined through the story missions as much as I could because I just wanted to get it done, refamiliarize myself with the story and draw a line under it. And I think I pretty much blitzed that in a day and a half. I already had a save where I was like maybe a couple of hours into it that I found, and I thought, yeah, okay, we'll start there. And that was throat chop. That was done. 2, I just fell into the black hole with, like I say, I'm probably not far off dropping the platinum on that bad boy. So I went deep on that. Brotherhood, not so much. I just mainlined the story. I did some bits, but not a lot. I bought enough to get my money rolling in, and then I sort of sacked it off. Again, I kind of like, but I don't like the missions where you send your assassins away to get their experience up. It's a bit boring, really, now. I mean, at the time, it might have felt like a new mechanic where you're playing for 12 minutes and then boom, you get a bit of experience boost, but it's boring.
Yeah.
Revelations, I'm not even going to pretend that I didn't absolutely bum rush that game because I was kind of bored of the mechanics of Assassin's Creed 1 and 2 at that point, and it was like, oh god, no, this is boring now. So when Assassin's Creed came off the shelf, 3, I went deep on that, and there's more I can do. I finished all the naval missions. I finished all the homestead missions. I finished Boston collectibles, and I've obviously got New York to do. But when I got about 2/3, 3/4 of the way through the story, at that point, the boredom kicked in, and I was like, I just want to get this done now. But then the ending was very rewarding. One thing I'd say about 3 is they want you to play it more like a cutscene. If you deviate in 1 and 2 and the follow-ons, you could just stab your way through and it didn't matter. If you don't follow precisely the path they've chosen for you in 3, it's much less forgiving. And I think the remaster's gone back and fixed some of these issues because sometimes you walk into a bush area and your character's meant to automatically crouch. So you go into hiding. But in the PS3 and the 360 version, you walk into a bush and sometimes the character doesn't know if you're crouched or not. So you end up getting spotted and the whole thing desynchronizes. You've got to start again. So, like I say, yes, I have deep dived on them. Some, others not. Depends on the setting.
Yeah, that's good. It's nice to know there is that variation in each one, not just with mechanics, but with the setting and the time that's taking place in. But yeah, I love Ubisoft. I think they deserve a lot of credit.
I tell you what,
they do.
Going back to them, I've not played that many Ubisoft games really, and having these on the shelf, obviously I've picked them up over the time for 50p. The hours I've had out of them has been an unbelievable time sink and rewarding. I've been smiling while I've been playing it. Don't get me wrong. I've not been like, oh, it's rubbish. I've not played any of the newer Ubisoft games, so I doff my cap. Considering that 3 came out 8 years ago, and on older hardware, it looks incredible. And there's times where it's on a par with stuff that's on PS4 and Xbox One, and they only had a couple of years, 3 years to make that game after finishing Assassin's Creed 1. The team split and they went on to make 3 and the others made Brotherhood and Revelations. To think that that's what came out of it, unbelievable. Rockstar would take years to make that game. And yeah, it'd be incredible, but, you know, time passes on. So Ubisoft, doff my cap, very impressed, very impressed.
It would be interesting to see what they could get done in the time limits Rockstar have.
There's been some. The thing is, there's been some moments. I've had a conversation with someone, a really heartfelt homestead mission, and right in the middle of it, a deer ran through and got. But this happens in Red Dead 2 for sure. A deer ran. Well, maybe not in the actual cutscenes. A deer ran through, got jagged on an NPC, and just ran on the spot during the whole emotional cutscene. It was like, oh god,
wow.
Why is this happening? But hey, I don't know what to say about that. Hilarious. But that's open world games for you.
It is, yeah. That's it. That's what we have to deal with. We better move on.
Well, it's time for the news. We scour the very darkest region of the internet to bring you the latest stories. First up, Tom, what are you going to pull out?
Well, we've got a bit of Xbox news, so listen up, Xbox fans. A new Inside Xbox episode is going to be broadcast, and it's coming on April the 7th at 2 o'clock Pacific time, 5 o'clock Eastern time. And we'll be featuring Gears of War Tactics, some Sea of Thieves news, a game called Grounded, and a few other titles. So what they are, we don't know, but it's going to be worth tuning into if you're an Xbox fan. Wow.
Okay. Well, what do you make of that? Think we're going to see any Xbox Series X game news or not? Too early?
I don't. Yeah, I think too early. I think they'll probably concentrate on.
Phil's feeling
well,
punchy.
Yeah.
You never know. He might come out dressed as Master Chief, pull up his sleeve, and show a tattoo or something.
Yeah. Like the glory days. You never know. I'm really keen at that Gears Tactics. It looks right up my street. It looks a bit like XCOM and sort of Fire Emblem turn-based strategy type scenario with the Gears universe. But yeah, that looks really good. Looks like a well-made game.
Sea of Thieves news as well. I mean, they keep supporting that game. I think that's very good.
I think it's managed to accumulate a lot of fans, hasn't it, over the time that it's been out. I mean, it's a bit bare bones when it came out, but it's obviously had a lot of stuff added to it. So yeah, interesting to see where they go with that again.
Yeah.
What else we got, mate?
Well, building memories, Tom. Lego and Mario have finally announced their 1st of August launch. They include the Mario starter course at... she ain't cheap. 60 US or euros. The Piranha Plant Slide expansion set at $29.99 US or euros. And the Bowser Castle Boss Battle expansion set at $99 US or euros. Fans will be able to explore the fun-packed Lego Super Mario universe with adventures with Super Mario Starter Course. Get in on it, Tom. What do you think about that?
Well, I think if you look at like a lot of the costing for Lego, the price point isn't actually that bad. And it's obviously going to be a very popular thing for the Christmas period this year. I don't know whether the idea of it's going to catch on. Is it going to be a bit of a Labo style scenario where it doesn't really
the good news
become
for
that
them
successful?
is the good news for them is people collect Lego and gamers collect tat. So this thing's going to sell like hotcakes, no doubt.
Yeah, I think, like you say, we've discussed this before, it will probably become more of a collector's item in some ways than... I know a lot of people are whinging saying they wanted like just normal Lego sets so they could have like mess around and have like the Mario characters within like I don't know, mix them up like the Lego movie, like have him in an X-Wing or the Ghostbusters car or something bizarre like that, and they can't because it's a very different style of Lego design. But yeah, I think it'll have its fans.
Let's face facts. On the gamer shelf behind you, next to your cloud, you can have a Mario set. The cheapest one goes, the 20 quid one. Bam, you'll buy it. Come Christmas time, that'll be discounted.
Yeah, I don't think you get Mario with the cheapest set. It purely is like an add-on for the main course. I think. Yeah, they're saying you need.
They know how to charge
one.
those companies.
They do, both of them. Notorious for very high prices. But there you go.
You ready for this?
Two powerhouses. Yeah. What else we got?
Who needs bicycle repairman when you got E3 repairman IGN? Looks like. Obviously, due to the ongoing pandemic, we've got IGN pulling on the S-flavoured T-shirt. Although I've heard some sort of different stories where E3 themselves, pull up a pillow. He's not interested in E3. And IGN themselves, E3 themselves tried to put together a telecast with all the different publishers that would normally be there. And they were going to use IGN as a platform.
Yeah.
And IGN said, no, we don't need you. We're doing one. And so they're proud to announce our new Summer of Gaming event, a global and digital event set to begin this June to bring you the latest news and impressions around upcoming games and the next generation of console hardware. IGN will be collaborating with a number of partners for the Summer of Gaming, including 2K, Square Enix, Sega, Bandai Namco, Amazon, everyone's favourite, most powerful console on planet Earth, Google Stadia, Twitter, Devolver Digital, the powerhouse that is THQ Nordic, and more. So, I
remember
they've got some licenses assembled now. THQ Nordic, they'll spin you upside down and tombstone pile drive you through a flaming table.
Yeah, I remember seeing this IGN news. Thought that's great. They're trying to keep it going, and they're going to have some good stuff, hopefully. But then, as the list got further and further in, you start thinking, not really fussed about hearing from them. Definitely not fussed about hearing from them. I think they could just do one of the big three in there, just to sort of make that seem legit. It's good though. I appreciate the fact that they're going to great lengths to try and salvage something out of E3, because it's going to be a strange month without it in the gaming world. I'm sure there's going to be other video presentations and stuff. But yeah, fair play to IGN. Good work. And hopefully it turns out all right.
Tom, give us your bit of bonus news.
Well, this is a bit of a rumour, so get your salt pots ready.
Well, hardcore fans of the show will know that you not a big fan of rumours or leaks.
No, the leaks I don't touch because it can spoil stuff for people. This is just a rumour.
Right.
So I know we've got...
Let me just say this before, because we've touched on this before. What if the rumour is a leak?
That's a good point. When I say leaks, I mean like sort of stuff that's...
several times when you said that you make the rules and break the rules.
Yeah.
What is this
I did agree with that with Phil, the producer, that I will just commandeer the show sometimes and take it in brave new directions. A bit like when Yoko influenced John Lennon. It's similar with me and Phil.
Well, we've yet to see the fans You know, they're all very polite to you when you pop in the Discord for an ego massage of that big balloon-like head. I don't know what they're going to be like once this show airs. Once they know the truth, the real story.
I think the lynch mob will be out in force, won't it?
It will.
So the rumor is, I know we've got a lot of Resident Evil fans who, in the loyal listeners, but Resident Evil 8 is rumored to be in a European setting. It's going to be first person again, and it's going to have a very similar villain to the realm of the Tyrant and Mr. X, or Nemesis, which either Resi 2 or Resi 3, whichever one you've been playing. It's going to be a witch apparently as well, who can cast different spells on you.
Oh god!
Now, get the salt truck ready because I think that'd be great.
Yeah, but why? That's like that. I mean, I don't mean to be mean to him, but they've obviously gone, oh, wow, look at Mr. X and that. He's had a lot of footage on streams. Everyone's terrified of him and no one likes.
Yeah, but it's a very
people like Resident Evil 4, so why don't we combine that with this and have what part of the T-virus enables you to what part? Answer me this. What part of the T-virus gives you the ability over occult magical powers?
I don't think they need to do the T-virus anymore. It just because it can just be evil of any kind. I think to move forward and do something different. I think the idea of it would be great. A bit like, I don't know. Imagine like the basis of Dracula, like the person going to his castle and getting sort of lured into this world, or the illusion of Dracula, and that he really is like immortal and can live forever. And I think they could do stuff like that. Bring this witch character. The witch character is very different as well to like Mr. X.
You know, a staple gun is powerful enough to like nail something to wood.
Yeah.
I think I'd actually rather staple gun my eyelids closed.
Trust me, this could be good. Like, I
wish the listeners could see the third screen of Phil, the producer. He's given you the time to do your bonus news. You didn't have to clear it with him, like the way I have to clear all of my bits and side squaddles that I do and my little bits of off-piste bits. And he's
executive control. That's what I agreed, and that's how it is.
You do have executive and creative control. And Phil, the producer's shaking his head. He's like, well, if this wasn't done over the air, I'd be editing this sucker right down.
He's made his bed. He's going to have to lie in it. Well, so I think they could do loads with that, like hallucinations and spells and stuff, and make it a lot more different to just being like chased like and beaten physically. I think they could spin it on its head a bit and do some interesting ideas with that. Well, but we shall see. We'll see whether that rumor turns out to be true.
Unfortunately for us, the listeners and the fans of the show, you've had 100% hit rate on your rumors and leaks. So that's Resident Evil 8 confirmed in a European setting with a witch
as the antagonist. But we'll see.
Wonderful.
We will see.
Well, listeners, I have to ask the immortal line, because this has survived Tom's pillaging. Did we miss anything? Do you have an opinion or take on the news we missed? If so, how, Tom, do the collected masses interact with us?
Well, you can send questions on Instagram. You can send them on Twitter via a direct message, or you can comment on a post. Feel free, as a lot of you do. You can also use Discord now and come on there and ask us anything, or just come and join in for the chat. And also you can reach us at questions@unofficialcontrollerpodcast.com via email.
Thank God you've given that a plug, because keeping that live and secure costs a king's ransom.
Okay, well, let's hope we get some.
Now the emails. Unofficial controller law has been heaved in the bin with one quick throw over his shoulder. I'm the one who has to bankroll everything, and that was not a pleasant bill that dropped in my email last week. But we keep it going
No.
because we love the conversation, do we not? We love it.
We do.
We've arrived at that point. It's time for the feature, History of Doom feature. As we said, we like to interweave the fans' very own memories into the show. And we have for them a bit of a rip-roaring history through the history of the Doom series here. So,
yeah,
you excited
looking
for that,
forward
Tom?
to this one.
Well,
I am. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Well, we're already recording, so hopefully so. But yeah, I've already responded to you several times, so let's just hope it's working.
Let's hope so. I'll kick us off.
Wow. Okay.
We good? The original Doom first came to our screens on December 1993. This was uploaded to a server at Wisconsin University, but an updated version went to retail in 1995. Small four-man team of id Software were busy experimenting with ideas and working on Spear of Destiny, the prequel to their first game, Wolfenstein 3D. The team consisted of designer John Romero, artist Adrian Carmack, designer Tom Hall, and programmer John Carmack. They're not related, those two, the two Carmacks. While working, John Romero liked to experiment with game engines, and he spent nearly half of 1992 trying different ideas before finally finding the right engine that would go on to be the basis for Doom. This engine ran very smooth and fast, a true benchmark for the time and way beyond anything else on the market. A staple that the Doom series has always tried to maintain as well. The clever trickery Carmack used was to allow Doom levels to be 2D maps that project upwards. This gave the illusion that makes the structures become 3D. Bizarrely, the whole game can actually be played in the map mode in a 2D down perspective, which is very strange. 20th Century Fox approached id Software with the possible idea of using the Aliens film license to make a shooter based on the hit film. Sadly, the idea never went any further, but John Carmack, thinking about a game that featured demons instead of aliens, got the ball rolling. Tom Hall progressed this idea and created something called the Doom Bible. It was a design document focusing on a story of 4 characters fighting their way to hell and back.
Okay,
so that's the origins of Doom right there.
Well, no doubt Phil, the producer, will work his magic and make you sound like the voiceover artist that you are. First person in, out the scenes, the Chronicles of Gamer, our friend all the way from America, our friend, loyal listener. They're all friends here. He says, I remember watching my friend Adam play this on the PC back in 93/94 and being just amazed at the sheer violence and the bloodlust took over me. This was probably one of the very first PC games I ever played. And I think we can all attest to that. I remember, as always, my school days seem to revolve around gaming memories, X-Wing, Wolfenstein, and the first time I played and saw Doom was with my very naughty boys, and we'd installed it at school.
It must have been at
the time being blown away, almost a little bit scared of it as well. Did feel like hell itself crawled in. I know it looks a bit dated now, and you'd be like, that's ridiculous that you thought that. But at the time, Doom looked amazing. And the music and the sort of subtle voice work in the background or sort of audio clips was actually quite terrifying. Next up, the Barber Who Games, longest, most loyal, most servious fan of the show, says, honestly, I didn't have a lot of memories of Doom growing up, mostly due to lack of any way to play any of the games. Since I started collecting, one of my goals has been to collect all the different ports of the original game to see the various difference between the ports. Not going to lie, I think one of my favourites has to be the 3DO port. Even though the port itself is a massive train wreck, it's an incredibly fascinating train wreck, which honestly has one of the best versions of the original Doom soundtrack ever. Well, continuing the story, John Carmack waded in and wasn't keen on the story idea and came out with the comment, a story in a game, it's like a story in an adult film. It's expected to be there, but it's not important. Hall sadly quit the project down to finding the game very dark and violent, having the engine and the levels taking shape. The art team were working on the weapons for the unnamed Space Marine protagonist. These apparently would be based and modelled on plastic guns bought from Toys R Us. Meanwhile, Bobby Prince, who composed the music for Wolfenstein 3D, would return to help compose the score, which took a very rock and heavy metal vibe. influences included AC/DC, Slayer, and Metallica. The music really suited the fast-paced, hectic action. It continues as a series tradition to this day. Yeah, got to agree with that, Tom. It was the music was absolute belting, wasn't it? Did you play Doom?
Was, yeah.
Did you play the original Doom in any way, shape, or form, or did you arrive with Doom 3 or the 2016 reboot claiming to be a big fan because you've got an amiibo of Cracker Demon or whatever it is?
I did actually play this back in the day on a cousin of ours PC. Was my first
other cousin.
Other cousin. Yeah, I thought it was great straight away. I loved it. I think when I played it though, there was things like GoldenEye around and stuff, so it did feel a little bit dated even then. But I still saw the enjoyment of like the fast-paced levels and sort of progressing through with the coloured key cards. I think going back there quickly to the weapon design, you can tell they are designed off plastic toys. A lot of the original guns, bar like the realistic-looking shotgun, like the BFG with its sort of pixelated white casing and then the green flash of the energy as it shoots out. It's all very like space gun toy design, isn't it? But really suits the game.
Good fact. Well done. You've dug deep.
Yeah, I did dig deep with this one. I do have a few memories of the original Doom. So yeah, I've revisited them in the past on, I think, Xbox Live Arcade when it was released on there. I remember that being quite a big release quite a few years ago. The fact that it was coming onto that for the first time. But yeah, a solid first outing for the series, definitely.
Okay.
Well, we best move on. It's hard to believe id Software knocked out Doom in just 1 year, and with it came some great innovations in gameplay, including a large selection of weapons, power-ups, and enemies who actually fight each other as well as the Marine. That was pretty sort of revolutionary for the time.
Yeah, well, if you got them, I remember struggling. I think I had it on the SNES, and you could sort of, I don't remember whether it was the SNES version or the PC version I was playing, but if you could sort of trick them into shooting each other, they would start fighting each other, which was obviously amazing.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, and has obviously been carried forward in other games and other series as well. We see that. So it also supported network multiplayer, which I'm sure the older listeners will have fond memories of. While the first part of Doom was available via shareware download for free, the other two stages would have to be bought from id Software for $40. It appeared people were happy to as well. Players fell in love with Doom, and the legend spread as it caused massive log jams on the university networks across the US. So we can certainly say id Software had a big hit on their hands. So what do you do when that happens? Well, you go and make a sequel, of course. Doom 2 arrived in 1994 and was a direct sequel. Unlike its forebear Doom, Doom 2 was a commercial release at launch, so it was available to buy in all the stores. The plot involved the Marine going through a portal back to Earth as he is deemed too tough for hell to contain. Once back on Earth, he learns the demons are there also and that they have killed millions of people. The humans that have survived the attack are planning to flee Earth by building spaceships to escape it.
Okay. Well, most of the level design in Doom 2 was done by Sandy Peterson, the now famous game designer American James McGee, also being heavily involved. One of the notable differences in design from Doom 1 is its levels take place over a single continuous sequence of linked areas with some text interludes to help advance the story. The sequel also brought some new enemies, including Revenants, Hell Knights, and Mancubus. Doom 2 also gave us the now infamous Super Shotgun, but unfortunately, this was the only new weapon featured in the game. While received well at the time, and to this day has sold around 2 million copies on PC, many fans felt the sequel didn't bring enough new ideas and gameplay innovations as other FPS at the time, such as Duke Nukem 3D. I thought Duke Nukem 3D came out a couple of years after. I thought it came out in 96, 95. Because I remember, ever the naughty boy, I played Duke Nukem 3D on the work PC. So once I'd finished uploading them to the... Once I'd finished uploading to the school PCs, give me 2 minutes and I'll start uploading to the work PCs. What an absolute rat.
I don't know. And you call me the heel of the show. Before we move on to Doom 3, though, we should take a brief look at a different entry in the series and many people's first experience with Doom. That game is the very excellent Doom 64. Releasing in 1997 for Nintendo's cartridge-based console, this game takes place after the events of Final Doom and ran on a modified version of the original Doom engine. New higher quality, larger sprites for all enemies created from high poly rendered models. This meant they appeared less pixelated when up close to the player, showing the N64 had some power under the hood in the right hands.
Doom 64 also tried to move in the direction of horror more than sci-fi, using new graphics. Midway and id Software chose real satanic images, where did they get them from? Dark colours and atmospheric lighting to create a sense of constant fear, something the player felt as they navigated those tight corridors and worried about what would be coming at them next from the darkness. We must mention the N64 had 4 controller ports that seemed a perfect fit for Doom's multiplayer. This never happened. Midway cited the reasons it was never implemented was down to Nintendo not providing the necessary resources. They also thought it wasn't as fun being able to see where your opponent was on the split screen display of Nintendo's machine. We really think this is a shame and feel this could have been up there with GoldenEye for best multiplayer shooter on Friday night with your friends. Also, if you're a fan of this game, it's been re-released on Nintendo Switch, Xbox, PS4, the same day as Doom Eternal went digital. Nice. But it's digital only, that Doom 64, Tom. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Yeah. There's no physical version planned as of yet. Well, chiming in, we've got Odders UK, and he's got a memory of Doom 64. He goes to say, my other best Doom memory was being bought Doom 64. At the time, it was a rather eye-watering £60. On its release, it wasn't warmly received, as it had no multiplayer, as we've just mentioned, and rightfully so. It was blooming marvellous, but this didn't matter to me as I loved it, and it would become my favourite Doom game. All the monsters were redesigned and looked way better than the PC version, but what really made me fall in love with it was the brooding atmosphere of the game and the brilliantly tense ambient music. I'm so tempted to get the re-release on March 20th, but I feel this is a game that I must play. So I played it nearly 23 years ago on N64. It wasn't as advanced as GoldenEye, which was winning people over left, right, and centre.
Okay, well, we're going to move on to Doom 3. Now, I've got a soft spot for this. I thought, obviously, at the time.
Yeah, we had this
Doom
on
3.
Original Xbox, didn't we?
We did. Doom 3 looked incredible. Doom 3 arrived in the summer of 2004 on Microsoft Windows, developed again by id Software and published by Activision. The game was also ported to the aforementioned original Xbox nearly a year later by developer Vicarious Visions, who were better known for their handheld games such as the excellent Tony Hawk's Pro Skater for the Game Boy Advance and the Guitar Grip peripheral Guitar Hero game for the Nintendo DS. So this was new ground for them, and they really hit it running, making sure the Xbox port visuals were as good as the PC-based counterpart. As well as the astounding visuals, the Xbox version also brought with it new 2-player cooperative mode, which many fans feel should have been included in the PC version.
Yeah, I've got a few good memories of Doom 3 when it did showcase the Xbox graphics well, didn't it, and showed it could hold its own against the PC versions of those titles. I think I preferred. It reminded me, or obviously afterwards, Dead Space reminded me of it. It was a lot more sort of. You can see the Aliens vibe in it almost as well. It's a lot more horror based.
Yes.
It's a little bit more slower paced, I thought, which is. I don't know. I think it quite suits. Well, it certainly suited Doom 3. After playing the new ones, obviously I love the fast-paced gameplay, but it was a nice change up they did with that one, and I think it stands on its own as a worthy entry in the series.
Okay, well, listener comment. Roast Space Monk. I'm going to say new listener, but new listener. He's obviously a pseudonym of someone else. I'm not going to reveal who. I'm sure the The community will work it out. I can't quite remember when I first played this, but I know I played it before the Sega Saturn releases. I remember renting it for Saturn and being absolutely disgusted at how bad they had ported it. The frame rate was terrible. It was like playing a slideshow of Doom. Recently picked it up for the Switch. Perfect pick up and play gameplay for on-the-go gaming. Odder's got another memory there, so I'll lead in with that. One of my best gaming memories are Doom related. So we did his second memory first, and we're going to do his first memory second. So that's how it works. The first one with my friend Rob, who's at Robbo Ring, and a few other friends, probably on Instagram. Rob already had a PS1. One of our other friends bought their PS1 round and another TV. We got ourselves a link-up cable and 2 copies of Doom. These guys were living on the very ragged edge of technology, which involved scouring the local video game rental stores and getting one from Blockbuster and the other one from the nearby paper shop, which did cause some mild anxiety until we got the hallowed second copy. Once everything's set up, we're in deathmatch heaven with 6 of us gathered around the glow of the 2 TVs playing death matches until the very early hours. Although we did manage to slightly annoy Rob's parents when, in the early hours, our cheers in celebration of winning a heated match woke up his baby sister. His parents were not impressed. Well, they wake up the baby sister and they're screaming at the early hours of the morning, and their parents walk in and they're in a pixelated version of hell. They must have wondered what was going on.
Yeah.
What was going on in that room?
Absolutely. Well, we better get back to the history of. We're carrying on a little bit more with Doom 3. As it's Doom 3 is seen as a bit of a reboot of the series and does not follow on from the story of 1 and 2. Instead, starting a new story in the year 2145 on a Mars research facility. As you may guess, things go horribly wrong when a teleportation experiment goes wrong. Demons start to come through the portal. Our trusted Doomslayer must once again send them back to hell. The game did see an expanded and remastered edition launched in 2012 titled the BFG edition. I think this is the one I got. Again, best ask your dad what that stands for, younger listeners. It launched on the Xbox 360, PC, and PlayStation 3. It proved moderately successful, but critics and players were against it. Its long loading times and bizarre weapon selection, where the player had to cycle through each weapon in order to get to the one they wanted. This really went against Doom's fast-paced action roots. Before we finish, we should take a look at the last entry in the Doom series, though.
Well, we're gonna segue here because we've got a comment from AGG1392 who apes the main script there. Your parakeet. You see, Tom's recording in an orangery with a vast array of wild birds, much as his ego will allow. AGAG1392, loyal listener, says, when my friend's dad told us what the BFG meant, must have been about 10. There you go. So there's an introduction of some hardcore swearing. Before we divest into Doom 4, Tom, there's a couple of listeners, Harvey and Johan. They have a podcast through their show, Enigmatic Productions, and they have a podcast called Trash Tapes, where they go through and review trashy movies, which they both seem to love, normally of a horror variety. And, you know, they've been very kind and supportive of us, and they've actually put pen to paper to give us an overview of the Doom film series. So pull up a chair, pin your ears back. Tom, if they wanted to cut straight to the main vein, which is the trash tapes, available on iTunes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Available on all the platforms where all good podcasts live, and we implore you to check that out.
Thank you for the shout out yourselves the other day as well.
Yeah, well, you know, that's you hanging a medal on them, hanging a medal on you, ad infinitum.
It is.
Doom was a 2005 sci-fi action horror film based on the game by ID Software, directed by Andrzej Bartolowicz, mostly inspired by the work in Doom 3. It stars quite a star-studded cast of characters with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Sarge, who goes a full 180 into wrestler heel halfway through the film. Carl Urban as Grim, who is both his name and his personality, and Rosamund Pike, who is a scientist with an awkwardly American accent. The film's been in development hell for almost 10 years at the time, with the rights to make a Doom movie starting all the way back in 94 with Arnold Schwarzenegger to play Doom Guy and even have a pet rabbit. But this all changed when the infamous Columbine shootings occurred, with the games linked to the horrendous events. The film's cancelled and put on ice. Till then, the Doom film is not as good as it follows a very slow and boring pace, with literal cutout scenes from better films like Aliens, Predator, and Event Horizon, but it does have some fun references with the BFG, keycards, teleportation orbs, and the only good part of the film, the first-person shooter scene that is very much like playing the original Doom with super shotguns and chainsaws, but it is not good enough to save it from its terrible reviews by critics and the public alike. Doom Annihilation is a 2019 straight-to-video sequel written and directed by Tony Giglio. Giglio? Well, you know, my Italian accent working full ball there, which is more on the success of the 2016 Doom and had an excellent hammy and mad last act happening in the bowels of hell, even replicating the famous poses seen in the cover art. But sadly, that is not enough to save it. The film's incredibly cheap, has barely any real action for the first two acts, and while it leans heavily on the references, it still doesn't capture what Doom really was. Followed a very similar layout to the 2005 film, with a group of space marines going into a secret Mars base to stop the threat. It's set to center the Rock. We get Amy Manson playing Joan Dark, leaning into the whole Ripley and Alien vibe. Rumor was that the film was originally planned for 2005, and its original drafts was rejected once The Rock came on board. The video game series creators were not involved with the making of the new movie. Bethesda and id Software were asked to be involved in the production even prior to the script being completed. They are asked to contribute to the story, script, casting, and demon designs. They declined and wished the production good luck. This sums up this effort and end result of the film with little fanfare or praise. A miss overall, except for the last 20 minutes. There we go. Both films in detail, says Johan. Well, thank you very much for giving us, using your expertise to provide us
thank you very much.
with a Doom film history and overview, particularly like the idea of Arnold Schwarzenegger. If that had managed to get off the drawing board, I think that would have been pretty good.
It may have even been seen as like a bit of a classic now, like a cult classic like Predator.
Just hold on a minute now. Predator is a classic. It's not a cult classic. It's done by the guy who did Die Hard. It's an absolute belting action film.
Oh, yeah.
Taken on its own, out of context from the rest of the twaddle that comes with Alien and Predator franchises these days. Predator's a masterclass.
Yeah, true. What do you think to the Predators Hunting Grounds?
I haven't played it yet.
No, I didn't. Well, we better move on with the actual video game to Doom.
I want to play it. I like that Friday the 13th game.
Idea, yeah.
Well, did you play that? No.
Yes, I have. No, I have played that. Yes, yeah.
I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it had a trial weekend.
If they did a similar job on Predator, eventually I'll get around to it. You know me, probably in about 10 years' time.
That's it. Well, we get now to the reboot of Doom.
Okay.
It was originally planned to be Doom 4 and had a long and troubled development. id Software even started working on it way back in 2007. That game was very different to the one we ended up with, though, and went through a lot of changes. There is some footage still out there, though, of what we could have got, and it certainly had more of a military approach. It seemed to lean towards more linear design, like the Call of Duties and the Halos of the time. Speaking on the original project, director Kevin Cloud said, "We'd explored a direction and got to a certain point. It just felt like this wasn't really capturing what Doom was about." Creative director Hugo Martin was more positive, though, and said about the project, "It was awesome. It was more realistic. It was about the global impact of a hellish invasion." The project was going to have a brawling system as well, where you could engage in melee combat with humans and demons. This idea did stick around though for the Finnish game that got released and was changed to the very excellent glory kill system we enjoy now. So the finished product launched in 2016 for the Xbox One, Windows and PS4. Published by Bethesda Softworks and developed by id Software, the game also saw a port on the Nintendo Switch by developer Panic Button, well known for their great work on Switch ports. If you haven't seen it in action, be sure to pick it up, because if you own a Switch, it's really top-notch port of a very graphically heavy game, and will really make you wonder how Panic Button pulled that off.
Wow. Okay. Well, I do believe that's a line drawn underneath your Doom feature.
It is, but as we close out, as I didn't really talk about it much in the what we've been playing, because due to the timing of the writing of this script, I didn't have Doom Eternal. But since then, because of the long break, I have played and finished Doom Eternal. The man who finishes games, you see. I need a T-shirt as well. One game. Fantastic. Builds on the first one in every way possible. It feels like a massive game, even though again it's sort of down corridors, go to area, kill baddies, move on to the next one. It's just the scale of the background stuff make it feel like a much bigger game. There's some fantastic enemy designs in there. I've spoke with some of the listeners about the Marauder is a horrific enemy and changes the Doom gameplay up very much. He's an enemy with defensive capabilities as well, and you really have to fight him in a very different way. None of the super weapons work on him either, so you can't just quick fix him and get him gone. You have to really think about how you're going to engage him and get rid of him. There's some great boss battles in there. The weapon selection again is really good, very similar to Doom 2016. There's a few new additions. I won't spoil those, but yeah, a really good game that I've thoroughly enjoyed playing over some of this time in isolation. I haven't had a chance to try the multiplayer on it yet, but I've heard good things about it. So yeah, I'm taking a second playthrough now, just trying to get any of the sort of hidden items I might have missed, and try out some of the master levels where you're given certain conditions that you have to meet to complete that level, or that you've got to stick to while playing through it. So yeah, thoroughly recommend that to anyone. There is a Switch port of that one coming, but quite when we'll see that, I don't know. I've heard it's looking good, but yeah, they do tend to take a little bit more time to get those out.
Okay, well, let's send ourselves out of the feature with the listeners' comments. So we've got Patches in Official, a Scottish-based podcast we implore you to check out. Probably slightly bigger voice because the string can swear words.
The better Scottish podcast.
Apparently so, yeah. I mean, ever the thespian, he's got his claws out. So anyway, the better Scottish podcast, Patches in Official, say Doom was the very first LAN game I ever played. It was with my mum and my brother in my dad's work. I like what you're doing there. They were very cautious going into every room, taking out enemies one at a time, and they saw them. But I was too young to care and were just running like a berserker and die constantly. By the time my family made it to the room, it was littered with my corpses. Hey, wonderful. Up next, Harvey Retro again. Co-host of the aforementioned Trash Tapes and Enigmatic Productions podcast, and just get all
videos.
Over the video series on YouTube. Go check out every single bit of content they've ever done, because it's very, very high caliber.
It's good quality, very good quality.
My strongest memories of Doom, it says, are definitely the final Doom PlayStation port. My friend at RH Magic and I played that. I linked up via a LAN cable back in the day. I'll always remember a level called Catwalk, where there was a thin ledge all the way down the level, and as soon as you started walking down it, what felt like hundreds of imps would throw fireballs at you. It's funny what you remember. Pretty sure our long gaming sessions were fueled by SodaStream drinks and Bart Bites. Remember those? I don't remember Bart Bites, but I definitely remember SodaStream. We'll come back to this. Great times, he says. Really excited about Eternal. Loved Doom 2016, so I'm ready to rip and tear once again. When I was a kid, I used to get home from work, get a pack of prawn cocktail crisps. You know, prawn cocktail's normally seen as a starter.
It's not a very rated crisp flavour, that, mate. I'm surprised at that selection.
What, prawn cocktail?
Yeah.
Oh, whatever. I mean, who values your opinion? So, prawn cocktail flavour crisps. I used to pretend like this was like my space future meal. Prawn cocktail crisps, a bag of beef and onion, because, you know, beef's a main course normally, a penguin or a Kit Kat for dessert, and I'd make myself an Iron Brew soda stream and pretend it was beer. That's how
Love it.
That's how I used to roll. What's your favourite crisp flavour, seeing as you're wading in as the Gordon Ramsay of crisp cuisine?
I do like...
Don't go into any of these. Don't start saying kettle chips and cauliflower and broccoli or any of that. You've got to keep it to the standard traditional flavours.
This is so traditional. It was the founding father of crisps. Salt your own. I just love the fact that there's so much salt in them. And then I lick the packet clean as well when I'm done.
Wow. Salt deficient.
Urchin.
Really?
I'm an urchin.
I like to flavour my own food because no one else can do it as well as me.
Literally that. We better move on from all this crisp talk anyway.
They came here for the crisp talk.
For the crisp podcast.
Yeah, certainly more successful than the video game one that we do.
It is, yeah. Well, after hearing your history podcast plans, Phil, the producer, is looking at you with pound signs in his eyes and looking at me with a P60 in his eyes, ready for the big.
He's laughing at that. Look at him laughing.
Yeah.
We ought to maybe get him on actually, but
yeah, I think we
maybe
should.
Better he remains elusive elsewhere.
Yeah, he pulls the strings. We just stand here like the puppets we are. Yeah. Anyway, C. Pliskin. I only remember hearing about how great the original Doom was until I was 12. It's kind of one of those franchises in gaming that everyone interested in as a hobby should know about. I finally got to try the original a few months ago, back in September, I think, and it holds up surprisingly well. It does have a handful of mechanics, like the levels being built like a maze, especially if rooms have the same texture in some levels. I find it quite irritating. But I still think that compared to all the other pre-2000 games I've played, I still had some fun with it. Even though I got into an angry rant with my friends because I was texting them in between the numerous deaths I had. Wow.
C. Pliskin, as always, wading in, a welcomed member addition to the loyal listeners. We've got you can take Farmington away from me, but you can't take this. New listener, H4K_gaming. Since Doom being my favourite gaming franchise of all time, I'm collected as much as possible from the series, games, merchandise, you name it. I remember one time when I was in the store online, found this awesome statue diorama of the classic Doom box cover art. I wanted it so bad, and they had only one in stock, and I didn't have the money at the time. After maybe 2-3 months, I decided to buy it. I went to the store online to see if it was still available. Still only one in stock. Somehow, I decided to wait until the next day to buy it. So the next day, when I was going to buy it, I suddenly couldn't find it. Unfortunately, someone had bought it before me. I was so disappointed and angry on myself. The day after, I got a text message from one of my closest childhood friends that were also into collecting games and stuff and saying, "Hey, you need to come over and see what I've bought recently. It's awesome." Didn't think any more about it, but it sounded interesting. So I went over to his place. Don't you think he had bought the same exact statue that I was going to buy? Turned out that he had bought it just hours before me and then collected it at the physical store. Luckily for me, he knew how much I love Doom. And after a couple of weeks later, he asked me if I wanted to buy the statue from him. Smiling heart emoji. Now it stands as the crown jewel in the collection at home. That's nice, isn't it? That is, his friend. That's the sort of thing that you would do. Go and sort of underbuy from under my nose some piece of merchandise that you end up brutally trading in about 3 weeks later for a brand new, for like 4p. And then you pick up your brand new copy of whatever shiny tat's out that week. Call of Duty 5000 with free price clip-on moustache.
You know it. Well, that's a nice memory from a new listener as well.
Yeah, very good.
Still picking them up.
_gaming. Very, very kind.
Yeah. Don't forget, guys, you can chime in with these comments and get them featured in the feature every week. So you can do that via Instagram, Twitter, or Discord, or you can send us an email at questions@unofficialcontrollerpodcast.com. So please get in touch. Next up, we've got King Lizard. I've been with Doom from the beginning on PC in '93, through various consoles releases until the pinnacle, Doom 2016, which is an awesome reboot and an amazing game. Fire emojis. My Doom memory is way... I'm on it.
Yeah. Hey.
It's Big Phil said I've got to do that, so I've got to do it.
Well done. Finally, Phil listens to one thing I've said. Everything else, he's like, I agree with Tom, I agree with Tom, I agree with Tom. I mean, Phil, at this minute, Phil, the producer's getting probably almost as much heat as you.
Well, you know, he probably is. But he can take it. He can take it. He was involved in some very strange decisions back in his ITV days, so we'll say no more. And the BBC, but he left there rather quickly. Well, King Lizard, where were we at? Fire emoji. My Doom memory is way back when modems screeched connecting to the internet so badly you wanted to smash them with a hammer emoji, and Doom Online. This was my very first online gaming experience, and it just blew me away. I quickly became addicted and would lose hours to the game. It helped that back then I was actually very good at Doom Online, which was a result of my many furious fingers typing chat abuse to me, whilst I laughed heartily to myself. Mwahaha, laughing emoji, thinking, this is my boomstick, explosion emoji. And an amazing innovation in gaming. It still holds up really well to this day, which seems to be a big sort of in agreement with everyone. That the original Doom and Doom 2 still hold up very well today.
Very much. Sending us to the bridge. Ever the player, do by Jim. Now, let's see what he's got to say for himself. I was working a summer job as a gardener for someone who was head of IT of a global corp, and he was somewhat excited at the imminent thought of Doom death in the world of Doom. Demon death in the world of Doom, forgive me, do by Jim. But he wanted a PC that could handle it. His 486DX 266 with Sound Blaster card was apparently not going to cut it, so he decided to build his new one with one of the first Pentium chips available. And in doing so, introduced me to the world of self-build. RAM chips, motherboards, setting up jumpers so the board knew the process speed, IRQ and IO settings for the soundboard, and then the floppy disk arrived from the shareware distributor with the first levels of Doom as a demo. And they worked, and they all seemed worth it. And the work all seemed worth it. Never had such colourful carnage in shades of brown and red being available, and with such slick movement and weapon control. I spent a very happy summer using his PC and losing myself on the descent to hell, saving every penny to build my own Doom dealing PC. And then someone brought out the Aliens mod. ... Well, I love that Doom feature, Tom. And I think that the fans did as well. And there was many a little fact interwoven into your Bayo-like tapestry of the Doom history that you did there from start to finish. John Carmack's stories like story and adult film, through to the fact that the game could be viewed 2D, and that's how you extrapolated that to get to the maps, to Johann's eloquence of a run-through of the Doom movies, to your wonderful last moments and introspections on Doom Eternal.
Fantastic game. I recommend playing the reboot and Eternal when you get round to the letter D in your alphabeti spaghetti selection of games.
Well, one thing I would say, you survived a trip to hell in Doom Eternal. Farmerton may not have survived yours and Phil's atomic bomb like wreck through the law, but like a cockroach, he survived the ray.
He's survived everything, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. And this week, he's been selling negligible face masks down, well, didn't anywhere. He's probably selling face masks out his boot. I had to just rein myself in there because I didn't want you and Phil to just make this a solo show with you and James, the work experience boy, though some probably would like that to happen. Some of the pro gamers out there prefer to hear yours and James's opinion on Fortnite skins and Season 3 Call of Duty Warfare Zone or whatever it's called. The only Warfare Zone I recognise is WWF Warzone on the N64. And with that, he tears up the drive. It's time for a peek in what we affectionately call Stingrays boot, what's nestled between some counterfeit nappies and a dodgy copy of Battle for Endor this week. These are the new release highlights for April 6th to April 12th, 2020. Listeners, these are out on digital or physical, or will be by the time this podcast's in your feed, but could be region-dependent. Tom, there's people sat isolated at home. They can't go down the shops. They can't get games. Stingrays popped his boot. Let's let them know that all these titles are available digital. It's not looking that busy in the boot, is it? Really?
No. It's
I know what my mummy is, and I think I know what your mummy is because mummy survived as well. Just in this little. Don't shake your head at me, boy. Don't shake your head at me, boy. Mumsy Stingray. They survived. She must have been in his boot because obviously that Nissan Bluebird survived the apocalyptic death blow that was dealt.
It's looking more like the V8 Interceptor now, isn't it? A bit more.
Oh, he can't help himself, can he? Gets his pen out, turns to chapter 6, page 2. God, yeah. I don't know what to say, really, but there you go. Season 2. It's all deadly serious. Has been bought.
Phil, the producer, paid for me to go to rehab to escape prolific law writing condition.
Money well wasted there, wasn't it?
I can't help myself if I just
Season 2,
potential
4 episodes in, we'll probably be on Barry the Bus King Wright's coach going to the Olympics. Some other dribble. God help me, please. God help me. Are you taking the first one? Well, I'll take the first one because then that works out quite nicely for my mummy. Okay. This one's Below. Cool. It's out on PS4, April 7th. Below is a solitary journey through the haunted depths of a forbidden isle. Survive, explore, discover. Not necessarily in that order, however you like. April 7th, that one. So that should be out by the time this podcast in your feeds.
Coming a day later, we've got Biped on the PS4. April 8th.
Don't want to cut in, but I would say the word. You pronounce it Biped, the eloquent thespian that you are. Every other human being walking the face of the earth, known as a biped themselves, would probably call that biped. It's a little bit like a moped, but, with 2 legs.
For 2.
Yeah.
Biped is a co-op action adventure game with a strong focus on moment-to-moment collaboration between 2 players, thus giving the bi its name.
Head. Yes.
Biped.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, also out April 8th, Convoy. What now?
Surely that should have a dash in between the bi and the ped. Then.
What, like bicycle?
English language is...
Like bicycle.
Good point.
Your command, like Patrick Stewart, he stands atop a tome of dictionaries and thesauruses, writing the lore and the Doom feature like he just doesn't know how. There you go. Biped. It's one for the school kids. Anyway, here's my mummy, and one for the likes of Adam the Artist. I know he's a fan of Mad Max type lore and the Chronicles of Gamer. He loves Mad Max lore and Mad Max. And he's also got his own podcast where he's sat trapped in New York, giving his memories of gaming through the years, amongst other nice stories. Ghetto meals.
And that's not law. That's not law. That is legit. He is there, and we hope he's safe.
Of course he is. It's all a little bit I Am Legend for him, no doubt. He's probably walking the park shooting deer. If only we knew what it was like to be him. Anyway, we ramble, we digress. Convoy is My Mummy. It's coming out on PS4, Xbox One and Switch, April 8th. Have you got a VHS, by the way, to pull out the boot? That's still what we do. We do that still.
Yeah.
Yeah, Phil said yeah. He likes the VHS pull-outs. So we'll keep them in. Anyway, Convoy is a tactical roguelike inspired by Mad Max and FTL, in which you cross a wasteland in search for parts for your broken ship. Presented in pixel art and set in a future post-apocalyptic setting, Convoy is a squad-based tactical combat roguelike in its core.
Nice. Well, this is My Mummy. Obviously, I've picked this up this week. Final Fantasy VII Remake, PS4, April 10th, or maybe earlier if you've been lucky. It's a modern reimagining of one of the most iconic games of all time. Final Fantasy VII Remake harnesses the very latest technology to recreate and expand Square Enix's legendary RPG adventure for the current generation.
Wow. Okay.
Nice.
My VHS is Sharp's Eagle, episode 2 of the Sharp series, starring Sean Bean. It's one where he has to
capture the French eagle.
Capture the French eagle. Yes, you're absolutely right. I can't remember the Major's name, and obviously, wow, Tom's so excited. He had some sort of.
Don't get me started. I had the book and everything. I used to love watching that. I'd watch it now. Love it. Wow. One of my favourite series.
Well, Sharp has to get a French eagle, which is like obviously the king's colours, but Napoleon's had these eagles cast that lead the head of the different regiments. And in a rather touching scene, a major gets wounded in a bad decision by a what officer. And
he loses the king's colours, doesn't he?
He loses the king's colours. He does. And he makes Sharp promise, although when pushed by Wellington, he denies all knowledge of this. He makes Sharp promise to get him a French eagle. And the episode ends, fade to black.
Buried on a hill.
With Sharp inserting the eagle into the freshly dug grave. Hopefully not too deep, so it impregnates the already corpse-rotting body. But, you know, we don't want to labour on realism too much. So that's my VHS pick.
How do I even top that? I can't top that. Okay, one for me and my little boy we've been watching is Chippendale Rescue Rangers on the Disney Plus.
Oh, that's such a great pick. I love that. When there's danger, no one ever fails when they're around.
Anyway, he likes the theme tune, and that's about it.
Good. Well, that's it's a good start because it's one of the best theme tunes they ever did. Tharsis on the Switch, April 11th. Succeeding in Tharsis requires you to make the best of what you have, even if it happens to be a pair of snake eyes. Certain factors may be outside of your control, but that doesn't mean they can't be overcome. Tharsis is not a game about facing the odds, it's a game about changing them. That is the end of the boot. One and done. He slips off, having deposited our mummies on the wiped and antibacterial sprayed virtual doorstep that we've got, and he's left my Sharp's Eagle copy of Sharp's Eagle recorded off the TV with adverts included, and he's left your copy of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Trust you to get the last and only dodgy copy of that early from him, and also he's left your copy of Chippendale's Rescue Rangers on VHS. What a good egg. He's keeping
a good guy.
Isolation and quarantine entertainment filled. And to stop the spread of this crazy pandemic we find ourselves in, he dunks every rental in a bucket of Jace fluid. How does that make you feel?
clean, very clean.
Well, those that paid the attention at the top of the show, and hopefully Phil, the producer, can earn the money that you're paying him and stitch together this rammel of clips into something that resembles a podcast and get it out some point in time within the next 48 hours so it still has some relevance. Tom, what are you hoping to play?
Well, when we've done recording, I'm going to be straight back onto Final Fantasy VII. And I'm about 10 hours in. So I hear it's roughly around 40 hours to finish the game. So yeah, looking forward to getting back on that. Probably some Call of Duty. Season 3 starts tomorrow, so I'll be having a go on that. On the Warzone Battle Royale. Ugh. You screwing your face up at me. I did start playing some more Sekiro, so I might carry on with that a bit more.
That's an old game now.
Yeah, it is. I know.
That's as old as we are, that game. Almost.
It is. Good point, yeah. I better not play it anymore then.
Yeah.
Breaking my rules.
You are.
Yeah, that's about it for me. How about you?
Okay, well now we've got a technical guru to stitch the show together. I'm going to just shut the laptop down. Boom, I'm done. I'm going to swagger through like a gangster and play myself a copy of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. So, you know, 2 minutes after finishing the outro, I'll be on that. I'll be playing it on PS3. Nice. Yeah.
You're not gone for the PS4 version?
I don't own the PS4 version. When you're in lockdown, I want to play the highest definition one that you can get. That's what I want. They look, to be fair, it's like the difference between. I nearly said something slanderous. It's the difference between base PS4 and PS4 Pro, from what I can see in the difference of the graphics. So that'll do for me.
Excellent. I think you'll enjoy that one when you get stuck into it.
It's going to have to work very hard to win me over. It's going to have to work very, very hard to win me over.
After Black Flag, what is there after that until Origins and Odyssey, the last two? The newer ones.
I've got on my shelf one more before I need to buy and sterilise anything new. Although I fell in love with 3 so much, I did buy one of the special editions, and that's winging its way to me in the post right now. There's another one called Assassin's Creed Rogue, which is based...
Is that the one in
New York?
France?
No. Calm down. Slow down. Chew your food. This is the very last of what you've been playing. It's like a sequel to Black Flag and 3. It's based in New York, and you go up north to the ice-filled areas, and there's more whaling in it. Yeah, sounds quite exciting. So I'm actually looking forward to that more than I am Black Flag. And then I think after Rogue, there's one called Unity, which is based in French Revolution Paris.
That's the one I was thinking of. It's had a 4-player co-op, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
I won't be utilising that feature. I shouldn't be supported anymore.
I think you'll struggle, yeah.
Yeah, and then although, if I'm playing it, there must be someone else. And then after that, it's Syndicate. And then I think it's into Origins and whatever the other new one's called. So, yeah. I might... Oh, one thing I'm going to do, and hopefully I don't get gazumped like HK_gaming 7, and by saying it out loud, is I'm going to go on Gotham Games' website and buy Unity and Syndicate to support them, because I'm a good egg, because that's what I do.
Yeah, we just want to take a couple of minutes just to give a shout out to Gotham Games, local video game store who we did an interview with in one of our previous episodes. I think that we really enjoyed. So please utilise them. They're still trading. And also Aikido Gaming Bar of Lincoln, who are looking to do a relaunch party and are offering various vouchers and so forth that you can visit their Instagram page or any other social media platform they're on to get any details.
I'm doing it now. I'm literally going on their website now. I'm clicking on games. I'm clicking on... Oh, no. Well, I'm going to have to do that later. I can't find PS4 on their website. I can find PS1, 2, Vita, Xbox One. I'm sure it'll work out. I'm sure if I type it in, I'll just search. Ass. I like the fact that Assassin's Creed has got the word ass in it twice. Something that I've noticed while researching it, because, I like to research. One day, I think I'm also going to try and do an Assassin's Creed. There they are. There they are. Look, beautiful. Mwah. That's what I'm talking about. Everything I want. Oh, my God. And they've even got a copy of Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered. Do I buy it and play it all over again?
I think that's too soon for that. It'll be one you can revisit.
It's one I think I definitely might revisit, but they've definitely got Unity and Syndicate, so I'm going to add those to my cart. Add to cart. Unity, yes. And then I'll finish the rest of it when the show's finished. Is there anything else you're going to play, or is it just Final Fantasy VII and online shooters, and that's you all and done?
Yeah, I think so. I am looking forward to getting stuck in again to Final Fantasy VII because it's one of those games you can get really drawn into because of the strong story. So yeah, hopefully might even have that finished by next week. I'm not trying to rush through it though because it is the last of the petty cash. That one.
All right. Okay. Well, on that note, that's my digital cart full on Gotham Games. I'm going to check out with PayPal, and I'm going to say that's all we have time for this week, listeners. As always, thank you for your time. We look forward to the pleasure of speaking to you again next week. Until then, happy gaming, and remember, there's nothing wrong with being given the unofficial controller. It's what you do with it that counts. See you, Tom.
See you, mate. Take care.